Hi, my name is Lauren Spiro, and I'm delighted to share with you a bit about my journey of transformation. But first, I want to take a moment to appreciate the larger cultural context of my life and say that when I look at the distribution of wealth and the exploitation of resources on this planet, I am deeply humbled. I was born into privilege in a working class, middle class family where everything looked oh so pleasant on the outside. But on the inside, I felt like I was living in a war zone. I experienced such a profound lack of safety that it led me to cling to anyone who offered a safe harbor or anything that could numb the pain. By the age of 16, the irrationality of my life and of the world led to my experiencing a spiritual emergency. In a heroic act of integrity, my mind desperately reached for the authentic Lauren in an attempt to find meaning and purpose in my life. I needed help, I needed support to move from monologue to dialogue. Instead, I got locked up in a mental institution, put on psych drugs, and labeled with chronic schizophrenia. As you might imagine, this made my life a little more confusing. So now what I'd like to do is share with you the 5 most important lessons I learned that helped me transform my own consciousness. Lesson number 1 happened when someone whom I deeply respected and someone who knew me very well told me there was never anything wrong with me. Well, I was quite taken aback, and it really took me a very long time to wrap my mind around that concept. Was that possible? It meant understanding the larger social context of my spiritual emergency, which required really that I understand the impact of trauma and that I understand the dynamics of oppression. So lesson number 2 was when another person whom I deeply respected told me, "I believe in you." Well, no one had ever said those words to me before, and it felt really good to hear them and to believe them. I realized, however, that I needed to believe in me. I needed to believe in me. So what would your life look like if you believed completely in yourself? Wow. So lesson number 3 was about letting go and becoming unrecognizable to myself. What happened was, and this is a way too brief story, but a completely unexpected spiritual blanket came over me while I stood by the pond at Auschwitz. And this spiritual blanket said, "Something happened here." And here you have a picture of that pond that I took. So it meant meaning right here, and somehow it was related to me. So before I returned to that pond a year later, which was just last year, I did a lot of emotional release work. And what I mean by that was just opening up my heart as wide as I could and letting go of rage, of fear. I was grieving for my people, for all people killed in war, all people killed by oppression. I did a lot of letting go of and becoming unrecognizable to myself in such a powerful and liberating way. Lesson number 4 was about the wisdom of the heart. So last year when I returned to that pond and the Healing from War workshop, the support group leader said to me on the last day of the workshop, she said, after I spoke a little bit about not having much of a story, she said, "You found them." And I immediately felt some pressure next to my heart. And a few seconds later, my mind realized what my heart and body already knew. I realized that I had, in fact, found my family buried in that pond. This lesson left me feeling profoundly connected to my people, to Jewish people, but also to all people who ever lived and are living and will live. So lesson number 5 is about listening to my heart, which led me home to my soul. So what I know to be true is my experience. The process of transforming my consciousness came through my heart and my body, not through my thinking or cognitive brain. Listening deeply taught me that my heart knows what is true before my mind does. When I engage in inner war and battle and struggle and suffering, and I don't know where home is. When I embody inner peace, on the other hand, when I truly embody inner peace and let it into every cell, I know that home is everywhere I go. So in summary, my spiritual emergency was in fact my mind's attempt to reconnect with my soul. Thank you so much for listening. I experienced such a profound lack of safety that it led me to cling to anyone who offered a safe harbor or anything that could numb the pain. By the age of 16, the irrationality of my life and of the world led to my experiencing a spiritual emergency. In a heroic act of integrity, my mind desperately reached for the authentic Lauren in an attempt to find meaning and purpose in my life. I needed help. I needed support to move from monologue to dialogue. Instead, I got locked up in